Welcome to this housing market update for Spokane and Coeur d'Alene. It's September 2024. I'm going to bring you the facts that you need to know about the national as well as local housing market so that you are as informed as possible when it comes time to make a decision. My name is Phil Wells. I'm a real estate agent serving clients in Washington and Idaho who likes to keep up to date with the market, and I want you to be as informed as possible too. In this video, we'll start by getting a national overview of what's been happening. We'll look at pending home sales, mortgage rates, mortgage application rates. We'll look at home prices, inventory, and days on market. We'll then compare and contrast that national picture to what's happening here in Spokane and Coeur d'Alene. Before we get going, go and follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. You can DM me there and interact with me there pretty easily too. Let's get on with it. Looking first at the most recent data that we have for national pending home sales, which detail pending home sales from July. Contract signings were down 5.5% in July after being up 4.2% on a month-over-month basis in June. So the yo-yo that has been pending home sales all year continues in earnest this month. Year over year shows contract signings were down 8.5% in July 2024, versus July 2023. So a very poor performance for pending home sales there, and a major setback in terms of year-over-year sales. If you're a home seller thinking about selling and you have the luxury of time, you need to be looking at these figures and concluding that there are fewer home buyers out there. And if you can afford to delay listing until conditions for buyers improve, this might help you out in the long run. And with interest rate drops imminent, this might come sooner than you expect. Here's what the National Association of Realtors chief economist had to say about July's pending home sales. A sales recovery did not occur in midsummer. The positive impact of job growth and higher inventory could not overcome affordability challenges and some degree of wait and see related to the upcoming US presidential election. To me, that sounds a lot like I don't know. And honestly, I can't really blame him. These market conditions are far from normal. And I do think, relating to that last point around the presidential election, the people there are right. Whoever wins the US presidential election will set the tone and direction of the housing market for the foreseeable future, so it makes sense to wait and see. So sales down there in July and lots of uncertainty. Buyers might sense an opportunity in that, and sellers may wish to exercise caution in the face of that. Let's move on and look at mortgage rates. Now, it's important to remember when it comes to mortgage rates that only 27% of buyers out there are cash buyers, according to most recent figures. That means that nearly 3/4 of buyers are dependent on mortgage rates to some extent, so to keep an eye on mortgage rates is vital to understand the housing market and buyer demand. Sticking with July for a second, and we are of course looking at the 30-year conventional mortgage here, which is the most common mortgage product out there. Mortgage rates at the start of July were at 7.14%, and by the end of that month, they were at 6.7%. So a 0.5% move downward there in July, which is fantastic to see. That resistance barrier at 7% that we talked about last month appears to have been well and truly shattered, and it doesn't look as though we're going to head above that 7% barrier for a long time. Today's rates are at 6.27%, so we're down nearly a full 1% in terms of mortgage rates since the start of July to today. That's incredible to see. I'm even hearing anecdotal evidence of buyers locking in rates as low as 5.9% here recently. That's fantastic news for those long-suffering buyers out there. And there's more positive news in terms of interest rates. The Federal Reserve doesn't appear to be debating whether to cut rates. They are currently debating how much to cut rates by. They're debating whether to cut rates by just 0.25% or do a jumbo rate cut of 0.5%. So it's almost certain that we'll see interest rate cuts from the Federal Reserve this month. Very positive news all around when it comes to interest rates and mortgage rates there. So those cautious sellers that have been fearful to enter the market will start to see more favorable conditions as these rate cuts come down the line. Mortgage rates are one thing, but how many people are actually applying for mortgages? That's what really matters, so let's take a look at that now. These are figures from the Mortgage Bankers Association, as we can see in this graph where the orange line is mortgage rates and the blue line is purchase application rates. We are not seeing a tremendous amount of movement in the application space. I have a theory about this that mortgage rates just dropping on their own are not really picking up that much attention to the average consumer. The only people that are really paying attention to that are those like us that track the housing market regularly and make it our business to know what's going on. However, when a Fed rate cut does come, that's going to make a real splash in the news cycle, and that's going to bring a lot of sideline buyers back into the market, in my view. It is worth noticing that refinances have boomed recently, presumably with people exiting those 8% rates that they picked up over the past year. Let's move on and look at the national median home price, inventory, and days on market. National median home prices in July were $422,600, which is up 4.2% on a year-over-year basis. These prices aren't coming down. In fact, in the face of falling interest rates, they're only going to go up. That's just basic supply and demand. If you can afford to buy a house, but you're trying to play it cool and time the market to get a great deal when prices drop, please remember, time in the market beats timing the market almost every time. Just buy the house before bidding wars become the norm once again and home prices shoot up. Inventory is currently sat at 4 months worth of supply, and homes are remaining on the market just over 3 weeks at 24 days. Now let's summarize that national picture so we have something to compare and contrast our local markets to. Pending home sales decreased in a big way both on a month-on-month and year-over-year basis this month. Mortgage rates are down, hovering around the 6% mark for the first time in a long time. They also have an overall downward trend, and interest rate cuts from the Federal Reserve are imminent. However, mortgage application rates really aren't doing anything at all. They're largely just maintaining and tracking flat for the most part. Home prices are up 4.2% on a year-over-year basis, with no sign of declining soon. Inventory is up to 4 months worth of supply, and homes are taking just over 3 weeks to go under contract on a national basis. So let's look at the Spokane market and see how it compares to that national picture we just outlined. Just a note on the figures for both Spokane and Coeur d'Alene, we are comparing pending home sales in July on a national basis with actual closed sales from August. Now, given that it takes around 30 days to close a transaction, July's pending home sales tend to become August's closed sales, so it is a fairly good comparison, but it's not perfect. Just bear that in mind. Sales were down 7.7% on a year-over-year basis, which isn't quite as bad as the rest of the nation's 8.5% decline, but still very poor. Median home prices are marginally ahead of the rest of the nation's $422,000 and are at $425,000 here in Spokane, which is up 1.2% on a year-over-year basis. Inventory is substantially lower than the rest of the nation's inventory levels at 2.4 months worth of supply. That's leading to one thing here in Spokane: competition. I am seeing more packed out showing schedules than I have in a while. I also encountered my first bidding war that I've seen in several months, which we were fortunate enough to be able to win, but it does paint a picture of what's to come for buyers when interest rates do finally come down. New listings are up 11.3% on a year-over-year basis, which is nice to see, but it is just a drop in the ocean and won't fix Spokane's inventory shortage unless we see new listings up over a sustained period of time. Days on market are 17 days, which is slightly lower than the rest of the nation's 24 days. And it's a positive sign for local sellers, knowing that if they are priced right, they will likely have a contract here in Spokane in around 2 weeks. Sellers in this market, if they have the luxury of time, should wait until the Federal Reserve begins its rate cuts in earnest. I know the average is only 17 days on market, but for some reason I am seeing some absolutely beautiful homes just languish on the market for no good reason. Like I said before, I believe that interest rates falling on their own isn't getting through to buyers, but a Federal Reserve rate cut will make a splash in the market cycle and bring those sidelined buyers back into the market. On the other hand, buyers should take advantage of the current market conditions before interest rates do drop too significantly and competition really heats up. Buyers should also not overlook those homes that have been on the market a while. There's likely nothing wrong with it. That's why you get an inspection to find out if there is anything wrong with it. You can't just assume that by how many days on market it has. Now let's look at the Coeur d'Alene market and see how it compares to that national picture that we outlined before. Actual sales were up 4.5% on a year-over-year basis, which is significantly more positive than the rest of the nation's sales declines. Median home prices were down 3.63% to $530,000. That's a 7% swing away from what the rest of the nation is doing in terms of prices here in Coeur d'Alene. There are 2,369 properties for sale across the Coeur d'Alene MLS, which translates to 6.39 months of supply, with that overall supply trending upwards. Again, this is significantly more than what we're seeing across the rest of the nation more broadly. Days on market in the Coeur d'Alene area are currently 87.1 days on market, and that trend is heading downwards. Again, those days on market figures are substantially more than the rest of the nation's. So that's the data across the Coeur d'Alene MLS. It does appear to be a slow but relatively balanced market here in the Coeur d'Alene area, though I would say the ball is coming down in the buyer's court ever so slightly there here in the Coeur d'Alene area. Buyers in this market that are seeking a good deal should be targeting those homes with many days on market. And if they are targeting those homes that are newly listed in the most desirable locations, they will still have to move quickly and have all their ducks in a row in order to secure those homes, because those homes are still going quickly. Sellers in this market need to be doing everything right in order to avoid being lost in a sea of inventory. They need to properly prepare their home for sale, have it nice and staged, clean and ready to wow buyers. And above all, they need to price it right. If you need help on pricing strategies, feel free to reach out to me and I'd be happy to give you my advice. That's it for this video. I hoped you gained from the video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help me out to show YouTube that people are engaging with my videos in a positive way. And if you are looking at buying, selling, investing, or moving to the Spokane or Coeur d'Alene area, please reach out to me. Give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, and I'd be honored to work with you. Until the next video, my name is Phil Wells, and thank you for watching.